on episode 442 of the I Am Salt Lake podcast, we are joined by Lisa Frasier, the owner and founder of Bandit Bitez. We chatted with Lisa about what motivated her to start Bandit Bitez, what treats they carry, their give back program, and where you can find Bandit Bitez when your little puppy needs a yummy puppy froyo, especially on these hot summer days. And one more fun thing we found out about Lisa in this conversation is her surprising connection to Gilgal Gardens.
Hey, before we jump into that conversation, let's introduce ourselves. We're a husband and wife duo. My name is Chris Hollifield.
And my name's Chrissy Hollifield.
Hey, if this is your first time listening to the podcast and you're asking yourself, what am I about to listen to? What is this podcast all about? Well, this podcast is all about showcasing the awesome people that live here right in Salt Lake City, Utah. We're talking to business owners, we're talking to comedians, authors, tattoo artists, restaurant owners, breweries, distilleries, really anyone that might have a cool story to share. I don't know about you, Chrissy, but this week does not feel like Pie and Beer Day week.
Not a traditional Pie and Beer Day week, I agree.
Usually we're kind of like frantically getting things together. It's between the 4th of July and the 24th, and it's like you wonder, like, how much do you celebrate? How much do you not celebrate?
Yeah, I know it's true, because if we work from home, we're still going to be home. It's interesting. It's just an interesting year.
And for those of you listening that don't know what Pie and Beer Day is, that's Pioneer Day, So, I don't know. It's this week. I don't know. Maybe you're getting the day off of work. I don't know. We have to figure that out, So,
but you're going to see me either way.
Yeah. So, this year's a little different with COVID.
Hey guys, it's so important that we support local companies, especially right now. Lucky for you, we have an awesome list of resources at supportsaltlake.com. These are businesses who support this podcast, and we really do have some great supporters, including Cash Premium Tailgate Equipment, who we actually had on the show, Evolve Cabinets for your cabinetry needs, Modified Piercing, and more. The entire list of supporters is at supportsaltlake.com.
All right, here's that conversation with Lisa Frasier as we find out everything you need to know about Bandit Bitez. What a great conversation. What an interesting lady. I had a really great time talking to her. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the conversation. We'll get started off with the recording, Lisa, with where home is for you, where you grew up, and where you call home.
So I still call New York home. I miss it desperately. But I did grow up in Bountiful. And like I said, I left when I was about 20 and moved to New York and spent a lot of years in New York and London and places like that and traveled. And now I'm back here. So doing the familial thing.
Now, where in New York? Like right in the city or outside?
So just about, I started out in Manhattan, but then I lived for the most part in Westchester County, just north of the city, about 15 minutes.
And I'm curious you said London, New York City. Were you acting
what took you all those
or
places?
what was going on there?
Well, I left and went to New York and got married and had a daughter, and my ex-husband got transferred to London for a while. So we lived there. And then we went back to New York, and then I went back a second time with my ex-partner, and we lived there for a while. And now I'm back to New York and then now in Utah. So yeah, and just traveled and
that's awesome.
Enjoyed life. And
a lot of people don't even get outside of Utah that live here in Utah, right?
I know. It's crazy, right?
They're kind of in this little bubble, especially right here in the Salt Lake Valley bubble.
Well, it's so convenient to stay. You know what I mean?
It's a beautiful state.
Uh-huh.
It's got a weird culture.
Yes, but there's so many things
But if you
here
like
to
the
love.
outdoor life and you're into the outdoor life, Utah's a great place to live.
Yeah.
So do you like that you're back? I know you probably don't want to say you don't like it. You're probably going to say you like it, but
I miss home. I miss New York.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I miss it a lot. Right now is not the time to be there, but I have still a lot of family there. My daughter grew up there, was born and raised there, so she has her family there. I thought I'd move out here because I'd see her more. She went to the University of Colorado at Boulder.
Okay.
She promised me that if I let her apply, then she'd move back to New York after school was over, and she didn't. She stayed in Colorado.
Oh, they're good
so
like that.
I moved to Utah to help with my mom and to be closer to her, but I could live if I lived in New York, I'd see her more. Let me put it to you that way, because she's always going home to see her family and friends.
Yeah.
So do you still have family then in New York? Is who anybody living out there?
I have sister in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I have lots of nieces and nephews, and my whole other extended ex family that I'm still close to. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I just like to get a little bit of a base, kind of like, hey, where's this person from? Because now we're going to get right into the good stuff of Bandit Bites, which is like, I saw this posted online and I was just like, oh my gosh, I got to bring her on the podcast. Because we had a pet psychic on the podcast once. So this was like 100 episodes or so back. And it was so fascinating. And then I saw this and I was like, this is just right up the same alley of something so unique.
Catered to pet parents.
Yeah. So, this has been kind of like this idea / dream. It was an idea about 5 years ago with a girlfriend of mine. She was like, I don't want to do this for a living anymore. I'm like, yeah, neither do I. And we started talking about, she wanted to do a food truck, right? And she has like 5 dogs. And I was like, I don't want to do a food truck, but let's do something for dogs. So it started out as like, one of those pedal bikes with the cooler on the front.
Okay, right. Like the old-timey popsicle bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't do that in Salt Lake City. I think you'd think you're selling drugs or something. I don't know.
Oh, is there really a law against that?
Yeah, there's no ordinance. You can't. So Anyway.
Okay. Huh.
So, we were kicking around the idea. She was kind of like, yeah, let's do it, but kind of, not very motivated. It got kind of put on the back burner because, I don't know, I got a wild hair and decided to throw everything up in the air and went to Southeast Asia for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And what were you doing there? And what were you doing over there for 3 months?
Just traveling,
what
backpacking around.
Okay.
What was the greatest thing that you took back from that experience?
When I went to Myanmar, what used to be Burma, because they just opened up tourism and travel for people after, 50 years of military rule. And I have to say, and it still brings tears to my eyes, that the Burmese people are the nicest people you will ever meet in your life.
Oh, okay. See,
they work so hard for so little.
Yeah.
And they will give you the shirt off their back.
Oh.
With no questions. And they'll want to do everything for you.
That's really cool that it's
You
opened
should
up.
do a traveling podcast with how much traveling you've done.
But I can't travel anymore.
Oh, it's kind of a tough time right now. Right now is difficult.
You will be able to.
Yeah.
You will.
Well, I do
eventually.
have a Twitter handle and some stuff for my travel persona, which is Venturista.
Okay.
But yes. So, I got a really cool tattoo in Thailand by a Buddhist monk.
No kidding.
At a Buddhist temple. Yeah, the monk takes and he decides the tattoo to give you.
Okay.
And where it's going to be.
You have no say. I kind of like that.
Well, you kind of know what it's going to be because he kind of follows like this, So fun fact for my tattoo, it's like 20, 30 miles outside of Bangkok, is that Angelina Jolie has the same tattoo on the same shoulder by the same monk at the same Buddhist temple. So Angelina Jolie and I share a tattoo artist.
No kidding.
That is super rad.
That is really rad, actually. Yeah. That is really, really rad.
So you did that. You traveled there, you went around, and then did you just like come back to Utah? Was it just to get refreshed and think about what you wanted to do?
It's to do the Bandit Bites. She came back to start this dog.
Guess let's do the Bandit Bites.
And I'm happy about it.
I was just kind of like wandering around. I mean, it was an amazing experience. I went by myself, all alone, which was fine. I had some amazing experiences, met some amazing people, traveled on public buses all over the place with chickens tied to the roof,
Wow. Just like the movies.
Got lost a couple times, didn't know where the hell I was going.
Oh, man.
People didn't speak any English, and I'm just like, okay.
That would be real scary.
But, it teaches you how to, like, problem solve, I guess.
That's true.
I mean, there were
times
enough. Like, I just want to go home. What am I doing here? Where am I? And then I'd look around and I go, how the fuck would I even get home?
Yeah, like you're not gonna walk.
So you just bought a one-way ticket, and then you bought another one-way to come home. When you were done, you're like, I'm done. I'm ready to come home. That is wild. So my sister kept calling me on Facebook, like, when are you coming home? We need you to come home. I'm like, I don't want to come home. So
do I have to come home? I really don't want to come home, but okay, I'll come home.
So you came back to Utah. You met up with your friend that you were talking about a food truck. And the
food truck was before it took off.
Yeah, was before. Well, exactly. But so I'm just trying to come. So when did the Bandit Bites come back? And I'm just trying to narrate the story, reel the story a little bit to that so we can kind of follow
I came
along.
back. I'd left my dog with a dog sitter.
Which is Bandit,
and I brought
right?
him home.
The dog's Bandit?
Well, no, Roy, that was Roy. Roy died. He got sick. And then after Roy passed away, I had to put him to sleep. I got Bandit really soon after that. And I was like, I really want to work with dogs. I really want to do something with dogs. I just, So I decided to resurrect the whole Bandit Bites. It wasn't called Bandit Bites at the time. It was called Policious.
Oh, okay. That's cute too.
I couldn't decide. So that was kind of the Roy one. So I resurrected the Bandit Bites and started playing with some ideas. And, I knew I couldn't do that bicycle thing and thought, the truck was just a really fun idea. It just kind of kept coming back to me and coming back to me.
Have you ever seen anything like this though before? Is that where you got the inspiration?
No, I hadn't seen anything like it. And I really hadn't done a lot of research on it. And so I started doing research on it, and I found there's probably, that I can count, like 3 or 4 dog treat trucks in the country.
Okay.
There's the one woman I spoke to in Frisco, Texas. She has a treat truck. Podtastic, I think is what it's called. And I called her and talked to her, and we started talking about her treats and where she gets them and how she sells them and so on and so forth. And she said, what sells best for me is the puppy frozen yogurt.
And how does that work exactly? Without the thumbs, the opposable thumbs.
Well, you have to feed it.
So it comes in like a little. If you look at my Instagram feed, they come in these little 3-ounce, 4-ounce cups, and they're frozen, and the dogs just lick them.
Yeah.
Aw, cute. I love it.
So they just lick them, and so she started talking to me about her froyo. So I started doing some research, and she gave me the company that she buys through from. And it's a company in Colorado. They were on Shark Tank and everything like 10 years ago, called The Bear and the Rat. And she does really well with their froyo. So I said, okay, let me order some. So I ordered some and started going to like Yappy Hour and selling it, and those kinds of events, the dog events,
which are few and far between though. So you don't have a ton of them to pick.
There's actually quite a few, but I started, like Best Friends does a lot of the run walks and things like that. They do a lot of these fundraisers. But I learned pretty quickly that first summer that those don't really work very well, because people go to those to run their dogs or, whatever. They don't go to buy stuff. And then, PetSmart shows up and gives away free swag and free treats. And so
then who wants to buy
I started doing
stuff?
festivals and markets the next summer. But what I also learned is when I was ordering the froyo, it's a cow's milk froyo. Mm-hmm. And their flavors would change, and they'd run out, and they'd do this. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I wonder what it would take for me to make my own. So I started doing some research on that, and I realized that goat milk is better for dogs.
Okay, a little easier to digest, probably.
Well, it's what they give puppies that don't have access to mom.
Okay.
For whatever reason.
Okay.
So I started buying goat yogurt and goat milk from Drake Family Farms out in West Jordan.
Mm-hmm. It's good goat's milk.
Yeah. So I was buying from him, and I was in Costco one day, sample surfing, because I'm a sample whore.
As you should be.
This little cheese lady was like, I don't eat milk cheese, because she didn't like the samples she was giving out. I eat goat cheese all the time. I said, oh, wow, cool, because I do a goat milk froyo from Drake Family. She goes, oh, I buy it from the local woman down the street. I'm like, there's a local woman down the street. She has a goat farm. I'm like, yeah. So she gives me the instructions on how to get there. So I'm driving down service roads and turning in other people's driveways.
Stop at the squirrel house.
Yeah, exactly. So I finally find her. She has a note on her front door. You just kind of like, it's all Venmo and honor system. So I started buying her goat milk.
Oh, wow.
So it's bought locally down here in Centerville. And then I bring it home and turn it into goat yogurt. And then we flavor it. So right now we're doing a wild salmon and blueberry and a peanut butter and bacon.
Now, is this can humans eat this? Is it good?
Sure. That's all it is. It's got a little honey in it so it doesn't get too granularly. And then it's got whatever flavor the flavor is and the goat milk. That's it.
Okay.
Oh, good for kids too.
But your flavors are salmon and...
Oh, yeah. Maybe
I'm going to do a plain.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a plain one so people can make their own flavors. And just yesterday, I was up at a friend's pet store. She does freeze-dried foods. So we freeze-dried a whole bunch of this froyo.
Wow.
So I might also go that route, because then I can ship it. So the plan for the van is this. The plan for the van is, so it's going to be, the froyo sells better than any treats. It just sells really well. And I learned that last summer when I was at festivals and markets and things like that. And it was always selling out. I did great. And so the plan was for this summer to do downtown farmers market, all these markets, Park Silly, blah, blah. And then boom, right?
And then COVID
Pandemic.
hits, right?
Yeah. That thing.
So I was like a little defeated.
Yeah.
So anyway, the yogurt does really well. So the freeze dried we're thinking about doing. Also, the van is going to go to like trailheads, pet friendly venues, cafes, outside stuff, dog parks, so it's going to be like an ice cream truck. So I can stock the markets.
Are you doing this all by yourself, or is anybody helping you, Lisa?
Not right now. I'm doing it all by myself. So, we'll get there.
And I would imagine you're working another full-time job on top of doing this.
No, I'm not.
No? Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, I didn't know.
I'm doing this full-time. So I'm doing this full-time. I'm like helping with my mom. So I'm here at her house.
I got you.
We have help that comes in and takes care of her. So, and I have other little things. And I was also getting ready, trying to save for the van, like doing Uber and Lyft and things like that. And then that, like the pandemic. So I got really lucky. I applied for a small business loan from the EIDL from the CARES Act and got it. So that's what has enabled me to go out and buy the van and do stuff like that.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by our friends at the Salt Lake Barber Company. Full disclosure, this is where I go to get my haircuts from Isaac over there. He does a great job. I love it. Every time I go get cleaned up, I feel like $1,000,000. They are located at 10 East 800 South, right in Salt Lake City. They do offer haircuts, beard trims, straight razor shaves, but check them out. I don't know what currently they're able to provide. I know they can do haircuts, but I don't know if they can do beard trims yet. So check it out before you schedule an appointment. There are the best barbershop, in my opinion, in Salt Lake City. They take walk-ins, but you can get a guaranteed appointment if you schedule it online at saltlakebarberco.com. That way you get a guaranteed appointment. That was the worst part to me of going to the traditional places to get your haircuts, where you would walk in and you would never know if you would have to wait 2 hours to get a haircut. Well, with the Salt Lake Barber Company, I just go to saltlakebarberco.com and I schedule an appointment. I get a guaranteed time. And they're great over there. Isaac over there, he does a great job with my hair. I think he does a great job. So anyway, their address, 10 East 800 South, the Salt Lake Barber Company. I love these guys. Go support them. And thank you to them for supporting this podcast. I want to get into the van here, but we're talking about the frozen yogurt. What are the other treats that you have? We haven't talked about the other treats that you do.
So I have like 5 different flavors of another treat. It's called the soft and chewy. I have chicken, cheese, duck, salmon, and I sell that as well. They're little bees. They're little cute little like 3-ounce packages so that you can just slip them in your pocket and take them with you somewhere. Like if you're going on a hike, or if you're going like to a pet friendly venue and you have your dog with you and you want to give them something, right? You don't want to just you don't want to give them people food if you can avoid it, and you want to give them something. So I don't make those. I have them made, but I may start making them at some point when I have the ability to do that. Like, it's just me right now. And I'm making lots of froyo.
It looks like people can order them right on Facebook even, or on your website, right?
They can order on Facebook. They can order from our website. I got to fix the Instagram thing, but then you can also order. It just basically directs you back to my site, a lot of that stuff.
Very cool.
So
this made me think of a question I want to ask you, Lisa, because you're a bit of a dog expert, I think. You know dogs probably more than I do. We got this dog. We rescued a dog. I don't know. Maybe it's been 8 months ago now. And I don't know if somebody abused her. Anyway, so she's a little anxious. And I was wondering, have you ever used CBD for dogs? Does that work?
I have a foster.
Okay.
And I gave her some CBD the other day.
And does that work? Yeah.
And I think it calmed her down a little bit. I think that it's also like not something you can just do once or twice in 6 months increments either. I think you kind of have to do small amounts consistently, Because
I've heard of like people that even did like CBD in dog treats or anything like that. And that's what's kind of making me think.
There's a lot of CBD products out there for dogs. Yeah. There's tons of them. I mean, every pet store carries it now. My friend that I did the dehydrated stuff or the freeze-dried stuff at carries it.
Are you thinking about adding it into your, what's the word?
Line?
Line, yeah.
Maybe I'd white label it. I don't know if I'd make it. Here's the thing about CBD, which I like CBD a lot. Don't misunderstand, but it's also really expensive.
Right.
So it creates a whole other revenue stream, but it also creates a whole other price stream. So, I mean, like it's for their $4 each for the treats or the froyo, and you can mix and match and do 4 for $12. And then up to a certain point, once you buy like 10 different treats, mix and match, whatever, we give back to a local pet charity. So, but you add CBD to that, it's going to take away, it's just going to be a lot more expensive. That's the problem.
Right.
So that $4 bag will probably go to $8 or $10 a bag just because it's just expensive. I mean, a little spray thing of CBD, probably 5 milliliters, is like $40.
Oh yeah, it's not cheap. Yeah. No, and you're right, because I ran into that with like beard oil and stuff. It's like I can get this $15 a beard oil without CBD or a $40 with CBD, and it's like, do I really need that CBD for an extra?
Yeah, for the cost.
Yeah, and I'd have to put out the expenditure, right? So I want to try and keep it as simple as I can. I mean, the gutsiest thing or the most interesting thing I think I'm thinking about right now is the freeze dried.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To like be able to ship it.
Because I send you plain freeze dried yogurt and then in little packets, like a little kit, and you can like add flavors to it, and you can even make up your own.
Yeah,
so if you're
that's
a dog's
really
partial
cool.
to green beans or whatever, you can make up a green bean froyo. So you can make up your own. And then I just have to figure it out. So, they buy these kits. And so if you're hiking and you want to give your dog a froyo, you can buy the frozen one. But a lot of people say, yeah, well, I'm not going to buy it right now because we're not going to be home for another 4 hours.
Right, exactly. It needs to be able to
they'll buy
like
one or
travel well.
two. I can do little things for them and little favors for them, like throw a piece of dry ice in the bag or something along those lines. But I don't know if and then they'll be okay. But the freeze dried, then they just take it home, reconstitute it, freeze it, and they're good.
Now, do you have any of these in stores? Any stores in Salt Lake yet?
No,
or
not yet.
Not yet.
So not yet. So, I mean, that's another, like I said, I was doing festivals and markets last year and was going to ramp up and do the truck and find some other revenue streams, maybe put it in stores. And then all this stuff happened. And like I said, what am I going to do now?
No.
Yeah.
So
you're doing a lot, especially since you're doing this all by yourself. That's what I think is impressive.
It's a huge feat.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, well, and especially since you're actually creating your own product too, on top of selling it.
So I'm doing some experimenting with that and flavors and and working with the Department of Agriculture in the cities because I got to get I've got to do this pedophile background check and the fingerprints and
for people who you hire.
No, to get a
anyone
permit.
who works in an ice cream truck,
see.
right? Because there's no ordinance in Salt Lake that services pets that's mobile,
right?
Like a dog truck.
It's a whole thing.
It doesn't exist. I mean, I tried to get into Utah's Own or that organization. They wouldn't let me in because there's nothing there for me.
Really?
They have no category for me. Yeah, they won't let me in.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Wow.
That's got to change soon, it seems like.
Well, I emailed a couple of the cities about the ice cream truck license because it's mobile.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need a vending permit to be parked in a certain location on the street. It's not for human consumption because I don't want to get involved in the health department and all that other stuff and cottage kitchens and da 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 da. It's pet food, but it's treats and it's mobile. So how could I marry what exists with my business? So I can't. So the ice cream truck works. I just need to so every city needs a license and I have to do background check because the services, mostly an ice cream truck is for kids.
Yeah.
And it drives around neighborhoods and stalks kids.
And they're like, we want to make sure this person isn't a pedophile. We want to make sure that they're. Yeah. How interesting! Wow,
I appreciate that.
You would never guess, and I'm sure you're finding obstacles left and right that you keep running into.
Just being a pioneer in the industry, in and of itself.
Again, being like Chrissy says. I mean, why haven't you thrown in the towel yet? What's keeping you going?
Not that we want to encourage that.
Well, no, I'm curious.
I got a little demoralized when in February, March. I don't know. I want to try this. I want to do it and see what happens. And every time I think about throwing in the towel and maybe doing something else like the graphic design or the web design, which I've done a lot of in the past, I think I'd really miss Bandit Bites. I'd really miss it.
What are you doing with it right now? I mean, and we know everything's a little bit slower. What's kind of your plan for the slower period and then ramping back up when we start to open up the economy a little bit more?
So the slower period is, and you're going to think I'm crazy, I'm putting a big banner in my front yard.
Hey, why
like
not?
4x8 on fence stakes, right? And I'm putting chalk on my driveway with a little obstacle course that says twirl and stuff like that. And I talk about Bandit Bites, and they can go online and order it because there's so many dogs that walk in front of my house every day.
Yeah. I like
people
it.
are out.
Are the dogs with their owners, or are they just out by the house?
Hopefully. They just have their owner's wallet.
So they walk in front of my house. I just got my banner stand. I got to put it up. I'm going to get little signs made and put them around town. I got to hire a social media person. That'll be like shipping and ordering online. And I need to look at these restaurant apps. I'm thinking about taking one of those restaurant apps that, when you go and you order your food and go pick it up and bring it home.
Uh-huh.
To order from me online on their phone. And I can actually leave a cooler at the top of my driveway with a bag with their stuff in it and their name on it. And they can just take it and go and they Venmo me.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by our friends at Libsyn. Hey, are you thinking about starting a podcast? Do you have a buddy or a coworker where all they do is talk about starting a podcast, but none of you guys know where to start? Well, I'm going to tell you about where the best place to host your podcast is, and that is Libsyn.com. That's Libsyn.com. We've been using Libsyn to host I Am Salt Lake podcast for almost 8 years now, and I know that I truly could not be more happy with them. They made it super easy for me to set up. They made it super easy for me to get my podcast routed to all the podcast players out there. I mean, check this out, guys. You guys can get your podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, all the cool places. I Am Salt Lake podcast listeners, pay attention though, because we got a promo code just for you. If you use the code SALT Lake, it's all one word, use that at checkout, you're going to get the rest of this month and all of next month of free podcast hosting at Libsyn.com. That's Libsyn. Again, the promo code is Salt Lake. You'll be supporting this podcast and you'll get yourself some free podcast hosting at the same time. It's a win-win. And many thanks to Libsyn for their support of this podcast. Let's talk about this van that you got, or this.
And it's sitting in my driveway. I just brought it home tonight.
You could do deliveries with this, right?
I could do deliveries. Yeah. But once I get the van up and running, and get my licenses approved, then I'm good to just do anything I want. I can do deliveries. I got to get it wrapped. So that's tomorrow's project, get it wrapped and customized. And then do deliveries and stock parts.
If anybody wants to see these pictures, they're on your Facebook page. I'll put a link at IamSaltLake.com so they could check out this van. But I mean, what are you going to have to do to the inside? Are you going to have to gut it out, or are you just going to...
It's really a clean van. I'm really surprised. There's a couple of modifications I want to make. So it doesn't have any windows in the back. So I want to find somebody or figure out how to cut out a service window.
Okay.
So it's not a very tall van. I can't stand in it, but I could easily sit at internal counter and have a little service window. And if we can get people to pre-order, then I can get a little freezer and put it outside and it can be contactless, right?
Yeah.
And I can just label it up and mark up their names on it and they just take what they ordered.
Totally.
You should create a monthly subscription thing like people can do with their dogs, right? So you have they can, be part of it and get these flavors every month. They get a package. I don't know. People like that kind of stuff.
I know. I've thought about it. It's I've thought about, so what do I put in it? How do I price it? Let's get the van going.
Yeah. One thing at a time. I mean,
I have a long list of ideas for revenue streams, which I think are really good ideas, but it's just,
you have to build the foundation.
Got the van in the driveway. I'm very excited about that. Let me just have a glass of whiskey now. And then tomorrow morning I'll get up and make appointments to go in and get it wrapped.
Exactly.
Now, what's the give back program that you're doing? I've seen that here online.
So what we do is I've stolen the idea from Bjorn's Brews.
Uh-huh.
They're the coffee place.
Yeah.
So they have a punch card, 10 10 cups of coffee and they give $1 to one of these organizations. So I stole that idea. So people, if they buy online, we keep track of them. Or if I'm at a festival or a market and they buy enough, I have punch cards that we punch it out and then I take it back. I say, who do you want? And they fill it out and I donate to that, depending on what they bought.
That is so cool.
Or like we did, the Utah Grizzlies, the hockey team, has a thing once a year called Pooch on the Pond, where people can bring their dogs to the hockey game.
Oh.
And they have a whole area sectioned off just for people and their dogs. So vendors come in and they sell their wares or their products, their bandanas, my treats, whatever. And so we get the tickets really discounted. So I worked with Pug Pals in Boise because they have a place down here in Salt Lake. So every ticket we sold and they helped us sell, we gave $1 back to them.
Awesome.
Very cool.
So we raised money that, and then if we sold for them, the same thing with the punch cards, and we gave money back. So that's kind of what we do. So when we'll go to Yappy Hour, we'll do the same thing. We'll go to like some of these other things, and we try and give back in adoption events. But the thing is people don't want to buy stuff at adoption events. They just want to
they want to get their dog. Yeah.
They want to get their dog. And there's a lot of free swag because they got a new dog, so they don't want to buy stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I did that for a summer and it was fun. I like the dogs and I like the people. It was fun. And I met some really interesting people. There's a guy that you need to talk to. His dog's name's Rolo. And he's a vet and he came back as a wounded warrior.
Oh,
and
wow.
he's adopted his dog and his dog's his companion.
Oh, his dog that he actually served with?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Huh. I'll have to track him down.
I can't remember his first name, but if I remember it, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head. And so, but he was telling me, because I tried to give him a Froyo, the dog, and the dog wouldn't take it. And I was like, oh, I guess he doesn't like it. He goes, no, he won't take food from you. He'll only take food from me. I said, why is that? He goes, well, because in combat, dogs don't die from getting shot or wounded. Dogs die from bombs. They get blown up because they poison food. Or they die from poisoning. They poison the food and the dogs eat the food and they die.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't sniff out the bombs, right?
Oh,
so that's how they
gotcha.
get rid of the dogs. The enemy gets rid of the dogs. So they're trained to only take food from their handlers.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
So it's really interesting. I just thought he was an interesting guy. I'd seen him at Yappy Hour a lot.
He probably has really, really interesting experiences.
And he lost a leg. I mean, he's got a prosthetic leg. He's a wounded warrior. So, and Rolo's his sidekick.
So what do you know now that you wished you would have known when you started all this?
That's a good question. There's a lot. You think about it. Somebody builds a business. You're like, oh, that's cool. There's a lot behind it. There's so much work.
Yeah, it really is. You have no idea when you get started.
I mean, it's just this, I have to do that. Well, I didn't even think about that. Oh, money in and out, checking account, business plan, profit and loss. So, and we also became a BLLC. So Salt Lake added a new category about 1.5 years, 2 years ago from the LLC to a BLLC. Oh. So the B means benefit. It means you're transparent. You give back. You have to somehow give back to the community. And you have to file a report every year based on, what you've done.
So it's almost like in between a nonprofit and completely for profit.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, for profit, but also give back.
So
yeah. No,
yeah.
It's a cool new area. I like that.
So it just shows that your company has a social mission.
Right.
Very cool. We have to look into that.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like an upgrade to your current license. It's like, I don't know, $20, $30, something like. It's not expensive.
One thing I didn't ask you in the beginning, or at least I don't think I did. Have you ever done a business like this before, or like have you always been an entrepreneur? Okay, so this is new, and that's what's curious.
No.
You're talking about having to, get a BLLC and a license and a permit here, and it's all this and that. And it's like you're having to learn this for the first time. It sounds like that's awesome.
One thing about Utah, I have to say, is it has a great entrepreneurial community.
It really does. Very supportive, very,
very supportive. There's a lot of organizations like women, the Women in Business and, the Downtown Business, that support women. And you can get a lot of support from women. For example, my friend who owns this pet store that does freeze-dried food said, come to my store and we'll do some freeze-dried food for you. This is when I can do it because then my machines are down or I'm busy with them or whatever. And I said, cool. So I went to her store. She frees, and I said, "What can I pay you?" She goes, "Look, it's about supporting each other.
That's rad.
I'm doing this for you to help you start your business and figure out what you want to do. It's just you take care of me, I take care of you. We support each other. It's all good."
And that's the way I think it should be. You know, I think if all of us looked out for each other a little bit more, I think we'd all go a lot further.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. I mean, the van that I just bought, she was one. I said, "I have been looking for this van forever." And she's like, "Oh, go to the guy around the corner. Go here, go here, go here. It's the crow flies. He's perfect van. What I was looking for. I've been looking forever. Saw it on Friday, done today." And it was her recommendation as well.
Very cool.
That's so cool.
I wish you the best of luck with all this. I mean, seriously, I think it's awesome. I think you got a very unique thing. I think it's a.
I want to take Karen to get a treat.
Yeah, we have a little doggy named Karen.
Her name's Karen.
Yeah.
I'll get you some treats. I'll hook you up.
But it's perfect. And seriously, like I said, when I saw you online, I was like, I got to bring her on and talk to her on the podcast, find out a little bit more about her. Let's talk, we got to switch it to Salt Lake City. There's a few Salt Lake City related questions we ask on every podcast, Lisa. Family and friends visit the city, visit Salt Lake City. Do you have like places that you like to take them on a tour of or areas of town or a hike or where do you take people to?
I had some girlfriends come about 4 years ago from New York. What did we do? We went to the national parks.
Very cool.
So there's a few spots, we did the whole, they didn't really want to go to Temple Square. They were like, "No, we're atheists or we're not going there." It's like, whatever you want to do, I don't care. Just you choose.
Yeah.
We went out to, the Great Salt Lake, things like that. I have a Gilgal Gardens.
Oh, I love that place.
In downtown South. That's my family's garden.
Wait, really?
My grandfather and his cousin did it.
No kidding.
What? No way.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Oh my gosh. I've been researching Gilgal Gardens.
We want to do a podcast episode.
Yeah, we want to talk about it.
We want to do a podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I wish my mother didn't have Alzheimer's. She could talk to you about it. It's her family. My sister knows a ton about it. My sister knows about all this freaking genealogy stuff.
That is so cool. Yeah, Gilgal Gardens is
I should hook you up with my sister.
tucked away downtown.
She lives in California.
Okay.
It's weird, though. Don't you think it's weird?
The statues in it are a bit weird.
They are, but also they're so incredibly cool and unique, that it's just
oh my God, they are, yeah.
You'll never see anything exactly like it again. And that's what makes it so cool.
No, I hope not.
Yeah.
No.
So I take people there and they just kind of go, "What?" And I was like, it's just this little family thing.
Inside joke, no big deal.
That is so rad. So rad. What about any favorite local eating spots? Do you like any favorite places?
So I haven't been there in a while, but for a long time, Provisions was my favorite.
Okay.
Up on 33rd and 23rd.
Yeah. Any others?
I like Provisions. Well, I got into this Asian thing and I liked a couple of the Asian places, but then I went to Asia and I came back and I don't really like the Asian places anymore.
That's valid. You can't really compare.
I try,
If there was an Asian restaurant that you had to go to or had to recommend in Salt Lake or Salt Lake area, what do you think?
What's that? The Jinyan noodle place? There's one on 21st South and there's one on 59th or some 60th South.
Oh, is it on 21st and 700 East?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Yes.
It's so good, and their buns are really good. I'm into the steamed buns. So so the steamed pork buns or the steamed buns.
Mm-hmm.
David Chang started those in New York at his restaurant called Mama Fuko, and we used to love to go there and just take because it's all communal tables and you eat these buns and you drink wine out of ball jars, and it's really cool. So I always am searching for these buns, and they do a really nice one.
Nice.
And Provisions does the best.
Man, we got to go check those out.
Go try out their buns.
Oh,
Go try their buns. What would you change about Salt Lake City? Is there anything you would change, Lisa?
Oh my God. First of all, I make more shade. There's no shade here. It's too goddamn hot in the summer and there's no shade. It's crazy.
We're in the desert. We're in the desert here.
There's no freaking shade. I'm sorry. This whole drinking alcohol thing is stupid. I just am like, in the Zion curve. Salt Lake is not good about letting people just be people.
It's getting better, though.
It is getting better. Salt Lake City, everything gets better, but it's going to take some time. I'm like live life in the gray area kind of girl.
Right.
Whatever you do, I'll do what I do. You do you. You're good.
Yeah. Do you. Don't hurt other people. That's all you
Yeah,
need.
do you? Don't hurt other people. Don't tell me what to do, though.
Yeah, exactly.
So you would like just a little bit more relaxed liquor laws is what you're saying.
Oh, just I think more liberal and more.
Yeah.
Just allow people to be adults and make their own decisions.
Well, the money's obviously
so
being
we
spent.
talk about the Zion Curtain. I'm always saying, like, I don't understand. Why can't that family say to their kids who are looking at the drink being made, yeah, they drink, so what? Big deal. We don't. That's our choice.
Well, exactly, and it makes it less.
like,
It makes it less enticing if it's a more familiar thing. You know, it's not like this secret you have to learn about. It's just like, oh, that's just a thing that smells terrible. Kids don't want it.
My niece in New York, she was going to school in Chicago, Sophie, the University of Chicago, when this whole thing broke out. And she was supposed to come skiing in Utah before it happened. And she had her ticket from school, and school got crazy and closed down. And it was, so she freaked out and came to Utah and had to isolate in a house up in Park City in Promontory, poor thing, for 2 weeks. So she comes here and she's hanging out, and I'm taking her to the airport the next day because she can now go back to New York. She's going to Albany. And I have wine on the counter, and she's like, hey, Lisa, can I have a glass of wine? I was like, yeah, sure. She's 20, whatever. So I was telling my mom's aide about it. She's like, well, at least she asked and she didn't sneak it. And I'm like, why would she sneak it? She doesn't need to sneak it. It's not that big of a deal.
Oh, how funny.
Wow.
So it's just...
It's a weird faux pas that we need to get rid of, for sure.
Give it time.
Exactly. Well, we'll get there.
Like I said, you do you, I do me. Everybody just get along, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Except it's really hard now with the I can't say it, with the masks.
Yeah.
It's just
the politicizing of the health issues going on.
Yeah. It's just
that does make it tough.
Cry. I'm exhausted.
Yeah. It's Ebola 4.0.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, Lisa, and coming on and doing this.
You.
I mean, before
thank you for having me. Really,
it's
fun.
I mean, I know we just skimmed the surface with everything, and I mean, I want to put the website at iamsaltlake.com with this episode, but I'm going to let you. I mean, how can people get a hold of you? Is there anything else that you want to talk about that we didn't talk about before we wrap this up? I mean, maybe there was something you're like, I want to make sure to talk about this, and we didn't get there.
I'm excited because I think that what we talked about is what's going on and imminent, which I kind of wanted to be new and fresh and imminent. Yeah. So, not
that there should be anything that, but if there was. Okay.
We talked a little bit about politics.
No. That's fine. That's fine. So
that's enough. We did enough.
Yeah. So what's the website? How can people find Bandit Bites and order?
Bandit Bites is www.banditbites.com with a Z or an S. It'll take you to the same place, but it's usually Z.
Very cool. And you're on Facebook and Instagram.
I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I guess I should start a Twitter account.
It's a lot to manage.
Yeah, it's a lot, especially if you're doing it yourself.
So I don't know. The Twitter, I think Instagram and Facebook is fine for now.
Yeah.
And my website, it works and it functions. And I'm going to start advertising around town, like old school advertising, like the banners and
I love it.
Yeah, man.
Got to take it back to the old school.
Well, I think sometimes you just have to do it that way.
Well, and we're all slowing down, so people are going to notice it more now too.
Well, we're slowing down and people are going to notice it. And so it's kind of like I said, people that are just... the street that my parents built this house on, which I live in, wasn't busy when I was young, but it's a really busy street now. So everybody comes in front of the house.
Yeah.
Get a lot of traffic.
Before we completely wrap this episode up today, Lisa, Chrissy has a final question I'm going to let her ask you. Thank you so much for coming and doing the show with us. Like I said.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, I always tell people, let's catch up. I want to catch up down the road. Maybe you'll have like 4 or 5 of these vans out there, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, we're excited to see where it goes.
And we could franchise it and we can take it to we get the bikes and we do like the beaches.
That would be so cute. Oh my gosh.
People on those bikes at the beaches. My nephew lives in Brooklyn. He's like, I think it would do really, really well in Brooklyn. I said, I want to do the bikes in Brooklyn. He goes, no, Lisa, they're going to think you're selling drugs. You can't do that in Brooklyn.
Oh, wait, are like hot dogs in a cart not a thing anymore? Or is it like, cause it's kind of like a cart in front of a bike, right?
Yeah. Like the old ice cream.
Hot dogs on a cart are not on a bike.
Not quite as much of a bike situation.
Yeah.
No. Well, they have a lot of bikes in New York, but I just, I don't know. And in Brooklyn,
I think it would be cute.
I think it'd be cute in Brooklyn. I do think it'd be really cute in Brooklyn.
Okay. Well, like Chris said, we're so grateful you came on.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, could you leave our listeners with a motto or piece of life advice that you live by?
It's going to sound terrible, but maybe it won't. It's easier to gain forgiveness than it is permission.
Thanks again to Lisa Frasier for joining us on this episode of the podcast. If you want to find any of the links we talked about or find out more about Lisa and Bandit Bites, you can always visit the links and resources at iamsaltlake.com/442.
All right, weekly recommendation time. We got some good ones this week, or when do we not have good ones, I guess?
All of our recommendations are amazing.
I would be curious if anybody is doing any of our recommendations, right? Like maybe send us an email. Or
maybe
say
we turned somebody onto something and now they can't live without it.
Yeah.
I would love to know that. Yeah. Please send us an email.
Or reach out, Facebook, Instagram, something. You guys know how to get a hold of us.
Yeah.
What is your weekly recommendation, Christina?
Okay. My weekly recommendation is it's an iPad app called Homestyler. So poor Chris, I've been obsessed with making the house organized and comfortable, especially since we're here all the time. It's got more than obsessed, maybe. So I actually ended up downloading an app that lets me put furniture and move stuff around in a picture of the room. So I can take a picture of our room and then move stuff around. And I'm just going to do that a lot and probably never actually buy anything, but have a lot of room designs.
I love it. I love it. My weekly recommendation is meditation. If you have never meditated, start meditating. I don't know if this might have been a weekly recommendation at one time. I don't know. I probably recommended it. And if I did, I'm going to recommend it again because it has changed my life a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it has. I never really understood what meditation did or how it would help me. I always tried to do it and I'd be like, I don't even know how to keep my eyes shut for longer than 10 seconds. I really could not sit there with my eyes closed. I had a hard time doing it. I used to have to cover my face with like a towel or something to make it dark.
It's actually been really amazing to watch the change in you over the last 2 years since you've really gotten into meditation.
Yeah. So and I've been really, really good with getting it almost like 6 days a week. I probably about miss 1 day a week. So start meditation. I just find guided meditations on YouTube, listen to it with the headphones. So, it's nothing fancy that I use. So
but
anyways,
it's perfect.
That's my recommendation.
I love it. Before we leave, I want to remind you guys that our entire back catalog of podcast episodes are always at iamsaltlake.com. You can head on over there, check them out, and be sure to share them with your family and friends.
All right. You guys have a great week. Get out and enjoy the city. Get out and enjoy Salt Lake this week. It's going to be beautiful. And we're going to see you next week on the next episode of I Am Salt Lake Podcast.
And good night, Grammy.